We are here with an absolute Arsenal legend, Manuel Abue.
When I saw Arsene Wenger in the office, I was shaking because I said, "Wow, Pires was playing on my side, Ruben Pires, so it was fast." I said, "Okay, you." Today, I said to Lauren, I said, "You, I will take your place." He said to me, "Are you sure?" I said, "Look, me, I was scared of Yes Lemon." This guy
really scary.
Yeah. This guy was very scared of him because he's a very serious guy, you know.
Yeah. Was that the game that day when you had that bad performance?
Yes, already. Me personally, I knew that today is not my day. He made the
took it off half, which is something he didn't do that a lot.
I look at him when I turn around. I saw the fans. Nobody, even my teammate, came to support me. It was only Adebayo.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV. Don't forget that video is out right now. We dropped it today, the A-list featuring Emmanuel Abue. Absolutely brilliant. Make sure you check that out right now on AFTV. Welcoming along my brother today. Laurie's in the building. Good to have you here. And of course, we are here with you guys. These shows are all about you guys. I want to interact with you. Want to hear from as many of you as possible, and I can already see a lot of you getting involved in the chat. What we're going to be talking about tonight, are you bothered that we're out of the FA Cup? I mean, just before I came on here, I was watching an absolutely brilliant game between Birmingham and Newcastle, who we failed to score against. They've already scored 2 against, including, if you haven't seen it, Birmingham City's second goal, that absolute screamer. I think probably the best goal I've seen this season, right? But we're not in the FA Cup this weekend. We've got nothing to do. We've been chilling today. And we'll be chilling tomorrow. And we were chilling last night when Man United were playing. So I want to ask you guys a question. Are you bothered? Because I saw a fan yesterday and he said, "Robbie, I'll tell you the truth. I ain't even bothered about no FA Cup. We've won it the most times. What I want us to do is focus on the league. I don't care about the FA Cup." That's what he said. Are you in agreement with that? And also, a little later on, I want to talk about this William Saliba stuff. Seems to be the typical Real Madrid maneuvers that they're making at the moment, putting it out there that they're interested in him. And there's a lot of rumors floating around today that they're going to go hard for Saliba in the summer. Are you worried that we could lose a player of William Saliba's caliber to Real Madrid, especially if we don't win anything this season? So I want to hear from as many as you as possible. Get involved in the show tonight. But some brother, welcome along.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, man. How's things?
Yeah, not too bad, man. It's a bit of a depressing weekend, really, isn't it? I mean, we've gone out the FA Cup, having to watch all these ties on the TV. Saw the news this morning about Saliba. Altogether, it's really cold and miserable outside. Not the best. But I've got to say, man, in answer to your earlier question, I absolutely categorically do miss the FA Cup. As people watching this will ascertain straight away, I'm a lot older than a lot of Arsenal supporters. And I can remember, you will remember as well, Robbie, back in the days when we used to get up early, the FA Cup was a massive, massive deal. In fact, I've said to some people, and they can't quite believe me, that, listen, I'm sure you'll back me up on this. The FA Cup back in the day was almost as big as winning the league. It was that big,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was.
And the FA Cup's always held a special affection for me. And as you said, we are the record holders. We last won it in 2020. We've not won it since then. In fact, we've not even got past the 4th round since we won it in 2020. And for me, that's really disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, lots of FA Cup games going on today, and we're not in it, right? And, you know, personally, I would love to still be in the competition. I love the FA Cup. I love the fact that a lot of times you get to go and visit different grounds that you wouldn't always play. You know what I mean? Recent years going to grounds like Preston, you know, Oxford United, teams that you wouldn't ordinarily get a chance to go to their grounds. It's a different flavour to it. And yes, you're right. It's a lot different to when we were kids. When we were kids, the FA Cup was huge. Like you said, as big as winning the league, it was at the time, the FA Cup. But it ain't no more. Nowadays, teams rest, half their team. I mean, as I said, watching a Newcastle game. They've rested Isak. They've rested Gordon. And there's a host of players not playing in that game. And remember, they don't have a game until next week Saturday. It's not like they've got a game during the week. They've rested loads of players. We saw Manchester City today. No Haaland playing in that game. They rested a few. They had the Foden and De Bruyne and that on the bench. Never used to be the case. Used to be going with strong teams. Does it matter? Does it matter as much as the league, the Champions League? You know, I want to hear from fans, but for you, Laurie, it does matter.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, nowadays, so a club like Arsenal, at the start of the season, I'm sure the club will draw up a priority list. I think at the top of that list will be the Premier League, closely followed by the Champions League, if you're in it, which we are. And then you've got the 2 domestic cups. I would imagine that the FA Cup will be the 3rd priority and the Carabao Cup will be the 4th priority, or the, least of the priorities. But the FA Cup is still a massive deal. If you remember when Mikel Arteta took over in 2019, he won the FA Cup in 2020. That was a big deal for him. I think he was like, I think he created history for Arsenal in terms of, I think he's the first captain and manager to go on and win the FA Cup for Arsenal. So that's a big deal for him. And he's not won a trophy for a number of years now. And so going out the FA Cup, especially in the 3rd round, especially to Man United, especially given the way Man United are playing at the moment. I mean, you saw the game against Leicester yesterday. They were pretty awful. And watching that game, you're kind of scratching your head thinking, how did we go out to this lot at home as well? You know what I mean? And it's disappointing for me. As I said before, the FA Cup holds a special affection for me. I mean, I can remember, and this is going back a long way, but this is actually true. I can remember, I think it was 1971, Charlie George, remember that? Scored the winner. Mm-hmm. The iconic celebration of him laying down on the floor. It's from them times that we've been watching the FA Cup, getting up early, watching the whole schedule, all the build-up. It's a knockout. I mean, a lot of people watching me speak now probably think, what's he on about? But yeah, so we're coming from a lineage where the FA Cup meant a hell of a lot, and to me, it still does.
Okay, let me get some of the guys' comments in. Dale Thompson says, Robbie, you're saying it doesn't matter. And that is where I think Arsenal mentality lies. Dale, hold on a minute. I didn't say it doesn't matter. I'm asking the question, does it matter to you? Right? Because I spoke to a fan yesterday who says he's not bothered about the FA Cup. Right? He's just wants to focus on the league. That's what he said to me. So, you know what I mean? And there's been a few supporters who have said that to me in the past. I remember even when we were winning the FA Cup, right, under Arsene Wenger and that, coming out of the stadium, interviewing fans, and some fans saying to me, yeah, Robbie, I want the league. I'm fed up. Yeah, we've won the FA Cup. Big deal. I want the league. So this is why I'm putting this question out there, because there are some fans who, for them, you know, and Laurie's listed it out. Of course, there's priorities, but for some fans, they're not bothered about this. So I'm putting a question out there. I'm not saying that. For me, of course it matters. You know what I mean? I'm a guy who goes through every game. I want to be in the FA Cup, but I'm asking the question. So please get the facts right. No, because some people see a headline and they just say, I'm asking a question.
No, I mean, you're right to put the question, because like you said, I've heard people say that myself. But be interested, the age group of those people that said it doesn't matter, what were they?
Well, no. This wasn't a youngster who said it to me. I was in the shop, right? And this wasn't a youngster. This guy's definitely in his 30s. He said it doesn't. He goes, we've won. How many times have we won that? Goes, when we're going to win the league? I'm focused on the league, man. He goes, the FA Cup. He goes, yeah, we're out of it. So what? That's what he said to me. And as I said, that's not the first person who said that to me. So, you know, that's why I'm asking the question. Adonis says, the FA Cup is a major competition. We don't win anything. And like you said, Laurie, which is a very true thing, is that the FA Cup is what Mikel Arteta dines out on. That's the only trophy he's won so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, he created history at the club because he was the first player and manager at that same club, Arsenal, to go on and win it. And let's be honest, man, I mean, the FA Cup this season was a realistic target for Arsenal. I definitely thought it was. Even, I remember we spoke, didn't we, me and you, and you were saying that you could have done without drawing Man United in the 3rd round. And I was saying, look, because we were playing, at the time that draw was announced, I think we were playing quite well. And I was saying, listen, man, we should be able to beat Man United, especially at home. I was at that game. I think Odegaard missed a penalty in that game. We had a number of chances. We didn't convert them. Once Bruno took that chance and they went in front, we scored back again. And it goes to extra time and penalties. I was already fearing the worst. And, of course, we lost out. And if we get to the end of the season and the manager has not won a trophy, i.e. the league or the Champions League, he will be ruining that missed opportunity.
Yeah. Robbie Langton says, it's very annoying that we're watching other teams in the cups and we aren't in again. This club is all out of control. We don't know who is doing the deals. Apprentice manager David Dean is missed. So, you know, he obviously would like to see us in the FA Cup still. MK says the league is never guaranteed, even if you save legs with the early cup exits. That's why you should go for it, in my opinion. Do Arsenal have the squad, Laurie, to compete in these competitions on all fronts? And I'm talking about even the squad from the start of the season. Do Arsenal have the squad to compete on all fronts? Because I think I was looking at City this morning. I was watching their game, and I think that they say that in the last 6 years they've got to at least the semi-final. Then you look at City; they've always got a really good stacked squad. Arsenal don't. To compete on all fronts, because we know loads of teams rest loads of players in the FA Cup. But if you look at a team like City, they'll rest loads of players like they did today. But the team is still very strong. They're still starting off with Grealish. They're still starting off with Savinio. They're still starting off with like Mamouche, who they just brought in. They've got a really strong squad in which they can compete in these things. Is Arsenal's squad strong enough to compete in the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the league?
Well, what I would say is this. I think Arsenal's squad is not as deep as we would like it to be, but I also think it's better than how we fared in recent cup competitions. As I said, if you look at our recent record in those competitions, it's relatively poor, to be honest. Like I said, we've not got past the fourth round since we won it in 2020. In that time, we've gone out to the likes of Southampton, Notts Forest. I know Man City beat us and I know Liverpool beat us and now Man United. So there are a couple of top teams in there as well. But I do think our record could have been better. But in answer to your question, I do think the squad should absolutely be deeper than it is at present.
Yeah, no. I thought you guys had a better squad than Liverpool. What's changed now that you're saying you can't compete in all competitions? Well, again, I'm putting a question out there. And certainly, you know what? I'd say defensively, Arsenal have got a really strong squad. Midfield, you could say it's quite a strong squad. Up front, it's not strong enough. And that goes back to what we've been moaning about over the last few days, that they didn't even strengthen in January. And the reason why I'm putting that question is the squad strong enough? Is that the FA Cup comes in January, right? So in January, you've got a load of games.
Yeah.
Especially this year in January, because you've not only have you got all the league games, you've got the Champions League as well that Arsenal have had to negotiate. And like you said, those two are the priority. Then you add the FA Cup into that as well. It's the same going forward from now till the end of the season. You're going to have the FA Cup and Champions League and the league. And to compete on all fronts, you need a strong squad. And I'm not sure, especially attacking-wise, the Arsenal squad is strong enough, even if everybody's fit.
Yeah, you say that. Although I've seen interviews with Mikel Arteta, and he's not the only manager to have said this. A few of them have said it, where they said that they don't like to work with oversized squads. They prefer a limited squad, not too small, not too large, and work with squads that are of what they class as a suitable size. Now, I think a lot of it depends on injuries. I mean, last season we were quite fortunate with injuries. This season's not been the case. So sometimes injuries factor into that. But then even last season, you know what I mean? Our record in the domestic cup competitions wasn't good. And even last season, we didn't have anywhere near as many injuries as we do have this season.
What do you think that? Why are we not delivering in these domestic cups?
I think maybe subconsciously the club have taken their eye off the ball with the domestic competitions. You know, and they've just not performed well. I mean, it's interesting because I was thinking this, I was watching a bit of that Birmingham Newcastle game, and I thought to myself, today Newcastle are kind of facing up against what we did when we went to Newcastle. So if you remember, we went to Newcastle, it was away from home, the fans were on top of it, the atmosphere was really heavy, and you could see that the Newcastle players and the fans are really motivated. You look at that game today with Birmingham, that was the same for them. And Newcastle conceded within a minute, and they're going life and death with Birmingham, a team that really and truly they should beat quite comfortably, even though I know Birmingham are playing well at the moment. But even so, the resources that Newcastle are able to call upon, they should be able to beat Birmingham, even though it's away. That was similar to us, wasn't it? When we went to Newcastle, I know we were 2-0 down, but in terms of when the tie was made, you're thinking that Arsenal should come through that, but we didn't. You know what I mean? So for these cup competitions, I guess what I'm saying is your team has got to be up for it. That's number one, because when you're playing in these cup competitions, you're coming up against sides who are really motivated. A team like Arsenal, there's always going to be a target on their back. You've got to be up for it. You've got to play well, and the manager's got to be able to rotate the team, but do so in a way that pays respect to both the competition and the opponent. I'm not always sure if we've done that.
All right, Paulie says leaving Highbury was the end of Arsenal FC. They were known as the Arsenal, respected around the world and respected institution. Moving to the Emirates has been a massive failure. That's his opinion. No, Arsenal are not strong enough, says B Guna 91. Listen, I think good enough squad to compete in the league. Obviously, you can see that, but all fronts. And then we even ourselves even shorter now, going ahead into a really crucial period of the season. We spoke about this last night about Martinelli now being out, possibly going to miss around about 6 or 7 games. So even what would the team have been? What would the team have been if we'd have played this weekend? So if we were still in the FA Cup, what would that team have been? That would have been really interesting because, all right, you would have been able to play with the keeper, Neto, I guess would have got a shout. Right back, well, you're going to play Timber. You can't give him a rest, so he'd probably have to play. Saliba, you're going to play because there's no backup for him right now because of injuries. Well, I guess you could have played. Actually, you could have played Kivior, maybe Kivior or leave out. Gabriel's had to play literally every game. Mars Lewis Kelly or Calafiori in midfield, you'd have a lot of options in midfield, but up front, who would be playing in that game? You know what I mean? Like,
I think though it also you have to take into account.
What is light?
Yeah, it is light, but you also have to take into account who you're playing. You know what I mean? Say, for example, Man City today, they played Orient with the greatest respects. Orient are not the strongest team, so they could quite reasonably afford to rotate players and go again and win the tie, which is what they did, even though it wasn't as easy as a lot of people thought it probably would be. I mean, they had, was it Salford in the first round and Orient in the second round? Sometimes that does play into it a lot, the draw, you know what I mean? So, I mean, had we have beaten Man United, we'd have had Leicester at home today. And again, without wishing to be disrespectful, you would expect Arsenal to beat Leicester at home with the team we put out. And it's also interesting that we have to be honest and say that there is a ready-made replacement for Martinelli, and that's Raheem Sterling. The fact that he's not playing well is in many ways inconsequential, but he is a backup for that position.
By the way, if everybody, I've seen some people saying that they've been having some problems with my Wi-Fi. What I have to say is that I normally plug straight into the Wi-Fi, and I've had a problem with the lead that goes straight into the Wi-Fi today. So I'm having to do it on a sort of a remote link. So if you're having a few problems with the Wi-Fi, if you're having a few problems seeing the Wi-Fi, I really apologize for that. Hopefully it's sorting itself out. But yeah, at the moment, no FA Cup for Arsenal, and we're having to kick back all weekend. and watch all the other teams playing. And I'm a little jealous because I love those trips in the FA Cup. FA Cup is a special competition. Special competition. I've had some great days at Wembley watching Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Yeah. Some of my best memories as a football fan have come in the FA Cup. I mean, remember, and the example I'm going to give now, it wasn't even a great game. In fact, it was a poor game for Arsenal. We was under the cosh for pretty much the whole game. Remember 2005, the FA Cup final at Cardiff. That was a shootout. Patrick Vieira's last kick for the club was to win us that FA Cup. I mean, it wasn't a great game, but the occasion was a great day out. I mean, we went to Cardiff.
I remember that. I remember being at that game.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I remember being at that game. I'll tell you what, right? We were lucky to have it.
We were. No, but you know what I'm saying though? It was a great day out. It was in Cardiff. It seemed like half of North London was there. I saw people at that game that I'd not seen in years. And to cap it off with a win, the way we did it as well, the fact that we didn't play well and won on a penalty shootout, Vieira, absolute icon of the club, getting that goal. It was a special moment for me. I remember that to this day, man. So that's what the FA Cup provides. It provides a lot of good memories. And of course, his trophies. His trophies, man.
Yeah, his trophies. And we've won the FA Cup most times.
Exactly.
So, it's, I don't know, it's not great to be out of it. By the way, in that game, Birmingham are drawing 2-2 with Newcastle. Was a very, very good game, but they're drawing 2-2. This guy says Anelka and Overmars against Newcastle.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm missing that. Right. The other thing I want to talk about, Laurie, today is that one of the things that are being discussed by a lot of fans is these rumors seem to be getting more and more and more about William Saliba being linked with a move to Real Madrid. Even though today a newspaper is coming with a rumor where they're saying Arsenal price for Saliba would be £150 million, which, listen, Real Madrid are never going to pay £150 million for William Saliba. But that's what Arsenal's price would be. But certainly you're starting to see a ramping up of this. And we know how Real Madrid do this. They have a player they're interested, and then they start digging away. A bit like what they've done with Trent Alexander-Arnold. And they're going to get Trent Alexander-Arnold at the end of the season. Different with Saliba because he doesn't have a contract running down. At the moment, they still got him under a long contract. But if we're winning anything this season, players like William Saliba start to become vulnerable because if Real Madrid are after you, listen, we're the Arsenal. We love Arsenal Football Club, but they're the biggest club in the world. They've won the Champions League the most times. They're the glamour club. It's hard to turn down. What do we need to do to hold on to players like Saliba, Saka, these really top people that we've got, because they are going to start coming under threat?
Well, there's two things that the club can do. One is to pay those players excessive amounts of money and hope that they can motivate them to stay through the money. The second one is a little bit more difficult, and that's winning trophies. And when I'm talking about winning trophies, I am talking about things like the Champions League and the title, which will motivate players like Saliba to stay. I must admit, this sort of Saliba going to Madrid has got an air of inevitability about it. And it kind of pains me to say that, but that is the truth. I mean, there are very few clubs across Europe that are bigger than Arsenal, but you'd have to say that Real Madrid are one of those clubs. And Real Madrid, as you said, Robbie, they're very good at unsettling players, and they're also very good at getting their men. I mean, you've seen what's happening with Liverpool, Trent. I mean, look at that situation. Trent is a born and bred Scouser, playing for his boyhood club. They're enjoying a lot of success since he's been there. He's won Champions Leagues, he's won leagues. But once Real Madrid came calling for him, you kind of know what's going to happen. You contrast that with Saliba. You got to remember, Saliba, unlike Trent, he wasn't born in London. He doesn't have any special affiliation with London or Arsenal. He's from France. So, you know, you've got to look at it from his point of view. If you get a club like Real Madrid come for you and what they're able to offer, the history of winning Champions Leagues, titles all over the place, the kind of players that he'll be playing alongside, the lifestyle, you know what I mean, the glamour of the club, it must be very hard to turn that down. We got to be honest. And as soon as Saliba came onto the radar, we was hearing, you know, I mean, little rumors that Madrid are interested in him and stuff like that. So you kind of know where this is going ultimately, don't you, really?
Yeah, I mean, Madrid, they struggled in defense. You know, I mean, they've had a lot of injuries and they struggled in defense, you know, and they are on the lookout for a centre-back. Now, William Saliba's current contract runs till, I think it's till 2027. That means for me, when it starts to get listen, there's still quite a while left on that, still 2 years. But everybody knows in football that come the end of this season, Arsenal will be looking to sit down with him to try and negotiate a new deal, right? Even though there's two years left on that deal, you know, 25 now, they'll be looking to try and negotiate, because once you start to get into 2026, if he hasn't signed a deal and we're still knocking on the door, then you got problems, because, you know, that's when you start to get into the situation where a player holds all the power. A player might say, well, you know what, I want to go to Madrid, and then, you know, or I'll just run my contract down and then I'll walk away to Madrid for nothing. A bit like what Trent Alexander-Arnold's done now, which then puts the club in a situation of, why, do we sell him now? Do we cash in? Collect the 100 million for him? Or do we gamble that he will stay? And, you know, now William Saliba looks like a player that's very happy at Arsenal at the moment. He's the main guy. He's in the French national team. He's really well. But I think the key to keeping players like Saliba is they're going to want to see some success at the club. And I do get worried when I see what we just did, for instance, in the transfer window. We're all moaning about it as fans. You can't tell me that players themselves, privately, the Arsenal players ain't privately, especially those guys as defenders, him, Gabriel, are not sitting around and thinking, why didn't we bring someone in, man? Or, you know what I mean? Why didn't we give the guys up front some help? We can't just keep defending and save the team. It is worrying. It is worrying.
Of course it is. I mean, these players, it's all about the glory for them, isn't it? I mean, obviously the money is very, very important, and I'm not going to minimize that for 1 second, but winning trophies at the top level is what it's all about, because one day these same guys are going to retire and you need to show fruits of your labor. Now, it's interesting, William Saliba, when he goes on international duty, so he's hanging around with the likes of Mbappe and them man there at Madrid, and they're telling them about how great a club with Real Madrid is, what they've won, the lifestyle and stuff like that. What an honor it is to play for. You can't tell me that that doesn't move the needle in terms of them being tempted, you know what I mean? And it's a difficult one, but I'm kind of already thinking, especially if we get to the end of this season and we've not won anything, I think we can start preparing for the worst. I really do. Because
you feel that?
I really do. I'm not just saying that for shock and awe. I really do feel that could be, because listen, if you're Saliba as well, let's be honest, Real Madrid have been sniveling around now for a little while. Maybe William Saliba's agent is saying to him, look, man, you might need to strike while the iron's hot. You mean you could get injured or loss of form, and this opportunity to play for a great club like Madrid might not be there. So what do you want to do? You've been a loyal servant to Arsenal. You've been a great player for them, but unfortunately, Arsenal can't get it over the line in terms of winning trophies. You've got a chance to play with the best players in the world, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Bellingham, Trent, and all them, man, there. Put yourself in Saliba's shoes. Like I said, he wasn't born in London. He's got no real affiliations to Arsenal other than playing. And listen, when I say that, I'm not minimizing the effort he puts in, because he's been outstanding for us. But it must be difficult not to have your head turned. You know what I mean? Look, I said, even Trent, who was born in Liverpool, played for Liverpool. Look at him. You know what I mean? And he's out.
Yeah, but then you could argue that Trent has, you know, he's won practically everything with Liverpool. You can also look on it, and maybe Saliba might be thinking this way. Well, listen, Arsenal showed a lot of faith in me. They put me from obscurity at Etienne. They bought me and give me a massive profile. I'm now a French international. I'm a fixture in that team. I'm one of the most well-known centre-backs in world football, especially in the Premier League, all because of Arsenal. Now, you know what? Let me deliver for my club. Let me help this club to win something. Let's win something before I start thinking about your Madrids and stuff like that. There are players who do think that way. There are a lot of players who think that way, as a matter of fact. You know what I mean? Not every player just says, right, I'm running at Madrid. There are a lot of players that, you know, I'm happy at Arsenal. Arsenal showed a lot of faith in me, and Arsenal have made me. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to say to himself, right, I'm going to Madrid because Madrid are interested in me. And then there's also the fact that Arsenal would command and demand a very, very high fee for William Saliba. It's not the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation with his contract about to expire in the summer. Arsenal, if he did want to leave, would want ridiculous amounts of money, which I'm not sure would Madrid pay £100 million for William Saliba. I'm not too sure they would. I'm not sure, you know, if you actually look at a lot of their
player, Robbie, I think money.
Yeah, but if you look at a lot of their dealings, recently, they haven't paid a lot of money for these players. When it comes to transfer fee, they didn't pay anything for Mbappe. They pay anything for Trent, right? They barely paid. What did they pay for Bellingham? Didn't he go on a free as well? Or they didn't much for Bellingham, you know what I mean? So they've not been paying these big 100 millions, 150 millions, and 110 million whatever players. They've literally been saying to those players, run your contract down, and then we'll put you on a high wage and we'll bring you along. And if it's the case, his contract's up in 2027. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Just to say to some people, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Saliba would go in the summer. I think it'd be a very, very difficult deal for Real Madrid to do. It really would, unless they put big on the table. And that money also, I mean, there's lots of rumours about £150 million. Definitely Arsenal be looking at least 100 million for a player of William Saliba's calibre.
Yeah.
100% they'd be looking at 100 million. Let me do some super chats here. We've got Cooking Buns. I like this one. He said, Laurie, how can you expect Saliba to remain loyal? When you want to watch along, you will leave your girl for Rihanna.
Yo, you're going to get me in trouble, bro. Actually, to be fair, I didn't say I would leave my girl for Rihanna. I just put a hypothetical situation out there.
No loyalty, man.
You're watching this, so,
no loyalty. Right. Gary Rickwood says, simple, win trophies, players will stay. Well, that is a big thing, isn't it? You win a trophy, you start to get a winning mentality, you start to be fully competing with Real Madrid.
I'm not sure if that's all the case, because Trent has won trophies with Liverpool, and it could be argued they've got a very, very, very good chance of winning the league. They might even win the Champions League. And I'm saying to you that even if they win those things, Trent is still gone.
But Trent has been at Liverpool for a very long time. He's been at Liverpool all his life. William Saliba as well. Yeah.
So listen, I did say earlier, the two things that clubs can do in order to stop their players from leaving is A, pay them exorbitant amounts of money, and B, to win things. The trouble with Saliba is that like I said, Saliba, they're going to look at it in a slightly different way. The loyalty aspect is not as strong with someone like Saliba. As I keep saying, he wasn't born here, so he has no, like, you know what I mean, real deep affiliation with the club. Yes, if we win trophies, of course, that might influence him to stay or stay a bit longer. But what I would say about that as well is that you can imagine, can't you? I mean, I'm being hypothetical here. William Saliba's agent's probably going to say to him, look, if Real Madrid are bidding in excess of 100 million, how much did Arsenal pay for you? Look at the profit that they're getting. They can come and go again. You know what I mean? You need to take this opportunity now. And what I would also say is that, listen, Robbie, I hope you're right. It's not a foregone conclusion that Saliba will leave. But listen, we've all seen this happen before. You do have to look at history because it tends to repeat itself. And I would say on the balance of probability, and again, it pains me to say this, but I think if we, especially if we don't win anything, but obviously if we do win something, it might be a little easier to tempt it to stay 1 more year, 2 more years. But I think he could be out of here. And then even then, Arsenal might look, you know what our board is like, Robbie? If Real Madrid, 120 million, do you think the Cronkies, what do you think that conversation will go like with them and Arteta? They'll be saying, listen, man, William's a great player, man, but, you know, maybe you can find another Saliba in France somewhere, you know what I mean? Or is there any guys in the Premier League that you could get for 30, 40, 50 million? Not as good as Saliba, but hey, we still got Gabriel. You know what I mean? That's how they man are going to look at it. So it's the business side of football, man, and you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Rizwan Khan says Arsenal need to bring in big players this summer to prove to the likes of Saliba and Saka that this is the place to be. Real Madrid will not pay his fee, but a swap deal plus cash could be on the table, he says.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I think we're going to Sorry to interrupt.
No, carry on.
We're going to have to get used to the idea, man, that this is going to be an issue moving forward. Now, I've got a question for you, Robbie, right? So what do you say to this? I was thinking about this when I was in the gym today, funny enough. If, and again, I don't want it to happen, Saliba gets sold, but then we use that money and get an Isak, would you be happy with that situation?
No, because we should be getting an Isak anyway.
But you know what I'm saying? In the world of football, sometimes you don't always get what you deserve. You don't get what you want. What I'm saying is,
true.
Direct question. If the sale of Saliba is to fund the recruitment of Isak, would you be, if not happy, would you take it? Would you be satisfied with that?
No, I wouldn't. I seriously, I'm with a lot of fans who are like, we're supposed to have both. Yeah. I'm sorry, no. By the way, Newcastle winning that game 3-2. Guess who scored 2 of those goals? And it's not Isak. Yeah, Joe Willock.
Oh,
Joe
right.
Willock, ex-Arsenal player. He scored 2 of those goals. They're winning 3-2. That game's coming to an end. You know what? On that subject, it's something that I saw today. Let me see if I can find this, right? And again, these things get me mad when I see them, right? Because it was talking about Arsenal's financial situation, right? And according to the Deloitte Football Money League last month, Arsenal leapfrogged Spurs, Chelsea, and Liverpool when it came to total revenue. They're expected to get around 660 million in, up around about a third year on year. And a lot of that's to do with the fact that they're back in the Champions League. So, you know, where Arsenal's revenues are dropping is because they haven't been in the Champions League. Last 2 seasons now, they've been in the Champions League. Bar an absolute disaster, they'll be in the Champions League again this year, right? So, according to this report that I was seeing, clubs are allowed to lose £190 million a year. That's stay within that PSR. They're saying that Arsenal are going to be easily within that, easily, and have the capability to spend a lot of money in this summer. A lot of money. And had the capability to spend a decent amount of money this summer. I also was reading today where David Ornstein said that Villa were willing to sell Ollie Watkins. Villa were pushing it, but they wanted £60 million. The Arsenal board thought to themselves that no, he's not worth that. He's 29. It's too much money to pay for a 29-year-old player. And with a bid of 40, Aston Villa was serious, and they said nope, 60 or nothing. Arsenal said okay, nothing. Now, have we made a big error, Laurie, in not signing Watkins? And I want to put this one out there to all of you guys out there as well. Or does it make, would a board sensible and it make perfect financial sense not to sign a 29-year-old for £60 million? Or do you think that we were so desperate that we should have done that? I'll put that to you first, Laura, and I want to hear from as many of you guys as possible on this.
I think we should have done more to sign Watkins. I mean, I heard that same story, so it would appear that it's true because a lot of people are talking about it. We went in with a low ball bid of 40. Villas wanted 60. Apparently, we didn't even go back with like a 50 or a 55. A straight business decision over a football decision, and that seems to be the problem with Arsenal. Even with this 29-year-old lark and whatever. The fact is, we're desperate for a striker. Kai Havertz, obviously, is not a natural striker. He tries his best. He did well towards the back end of last season. But coming into this season, a lot of people earmarked that position as a potential barrier to Arsenal winning things. I certainly said, we did a preview show before the season started, Robbie, and I said, and I wasn't being particularly pressing it, I'm not Nostradamus. I said that the thing that will probably stop Arsenal from winning a title is if we don't have a 20-goal season strike and we don't have decent options, especially when you take into account injuries, loss of form and things like that. With the greatest respect to Kai Havertz, who, listen, he does his best. I'm not making this a personal thing. I don't think he's good enough to lead the line for a club like Arsenal if you're wanting to challenge at that elite level. I'm just being honest. He ain't that guy. And even if he was considered that guy, we need good backups. And Jesus has not been that guy. So if you get an opportunity to sign Ollie Watkins, okay, it's a bit of a risk. Certainly in terms of a commercial aspect, you know, with the sell-on value, as they like to talk about. But like I said, too many times at Arsenal, business decisions tend to override football decisions. The business decision was he's coming up to 30, he's got no real sell-on value. But the football decision was, we're desperate for a striker. We're short anyway. Go and get him. We chose the business decision, and that could be the difference between us winning something and not. There you have it.
Yeah, Albert Claver says, if it makes sense, Arsenal will not do it. Katie says, at least negotiate. Might have been able to have got him for 55 million. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry?
That's what I said. From what I understand, we offered a low ball of 40. Villa are insisting on 60. Unless someone out there knows better than me, we didn't go back in with a higher offer of 50 or 55 or 56, 7, whatever it was. And we didn't get him. Now,
okay,
I'd like to know what Mikel Arteta thought about that. Was he pushing for it, or was he disappointed that we didn't get him?
Yep. Wilson O says, Watkins never the guy. We should have brought in someone regardless, but the Waltons is not it. Maybe Watkins is not it. Stomping Thunder says, no, it's a wise decision not to pay 60 million for Ollie. He's 29. We need to invest in younger players. So then, Stomping Thunder, are you cool then if we say that win nothing this season, we go again in the summer? Because to me, that's what that decision told me. That decision told me that they're like planning for the summer. You said, or it's business. That was a strictly business decision, isn't it?
Yep.
And strictly business
decisions, but when the business decisions start overtaking the football decisions, you have a problem. Because sometimes you do have to take risks in life, even in business, you know. So I look at the Harry Kane going to Bayern Munich, yeah? I'm not saying Ollie Watkins is Harry Kane. Obviously, he's nowhere near as good as Harry Kane as a goal scorer. But Harry Kane going to Bayern Munich, financial sense, when you're looking on it, you're thinking he's 30. And you're paying nearly £100 million for him. How does that make sense? And I know he didn't win the league in the first season, but go and look at how many goals he scored for them in that season. It wasn't his fault. And how many goals he scored. He's breaking all kinds of records, scoring goals for fun. Now, that is now become, they're going to win the league this season, I feel, in the Bundesliga. That is now a very, very good decision. Yeah. Right? A very, very good decision, right? Because they're winning things with Harry Kane's goals. Exactly. Tottenham have lost Harry Kane's goals and they're an absolute mess now. They might have got £100 million, might have that to buy this player and that player, but they've got worse since he's left. Absolutely.
What do you want? You want a good bank balance, or do you want to win leagues? And do you want to win cups? That is the big question that I would love to be able to sit down and ask the financial guys at Arsenal. Yeah. Because this decision on Ollie Watkins, listen, I understand it in normal circuits. If it was in the summer and they said 60 million for a 29-year-old, where you got loads and loads of options, I'd probably be with them. I'd probably say, yeah. But right now, we are desperate. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say in January, we were desperate to bring in a striker. And we did nothing for financial reasons. Imran says Watkins was not the answer. He's more of an answer, a bit like what Lee Judge said last night. It's more of an answer than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, put it like this, Robbie. Who is the top scorer in the Premier League at the moment?
It's Haaland, isn't it?
Well, Mo Salah. Mo Salah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Salah. What am I talking about? Salah, yeah.
And last time I checked, Mo Salah's 32 years old. So you know,
exactly.
So, like I said,
Laurie, look at some of the top goal scorers, guys banging in the goals across Europe. So you got Salah, 32 in the Premier League. You got Lewandowski, I think he's 36. He's still banging in the goals over there in Spain. You got Harry Kane, who's 31, 32. He's banging them in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
You know?
And that kind of hard and fast rule about players being over 30 and, you know, I mean, their legs start to go. That is not necessarily the case. There's a lot, you said, there's a lot of good strikers out there, 30 plus, they're still doing their thing. And the thing is, we are so short in that area that I think Ollie Watkins would have been a good addition. And you also have to bear into mind this. He's a different player from Havertz, so he gives you an option. You know what I mean? So even if he's not, Havertz is your main starter, right? You can bring on Ollie Watkins and he will come on and do a job and hopefully score goals as well. So, yeah, I thought it was remiss of the club not to go in for him, to be honest. I can only think, and I mentioned this on the show yesterday, Robbie, and listen, it's not what I would have done, but I'm kind of trying to get my head into the brain of those guys at the hierarchy, the guys who've spent the Cronkies, etc. Are they holding back and saving the money and going really big in the summer? Do you think that that's what they're doing?
Listen, I think they will go. They will go big. They will go big in the summer for a striker. But what about now? So are we just throwing away the season then? Are we just saying that basically? Because listen, I said it before at the start of the January transfer window. If we don't sign anyone, our chances of winning anything this year are very. When I look at our squad, is that going to be enough to overcome the points deficit against Liverpool, which is really tough, even if you brought strikers in? Is that squad, from an attacking point of view, good enough to win the Champions League? Be real. No. Is that squad? If we're in a, I know we finished above them in the group stages, but if it's a game against Real Madrid over 2 legs, do you look at the Arsenal team and say, yeah, it's an even game?
No, I have to.
If it's over 2 legs against Bayern, you know, I'm looking at Bayern's attack the other day. Harry Kane, Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry, Michael Olise, Leroy Sané. Matthias Tel couldn't even get a game. Yeah. Everybody scrambling for him. Tottenham are paying 50-odd million. He could get no minutes.
Yeah.
And then I look at our attack: Kai Havertz, Martinelli, if he's fit, Trossard. Listen, respect to those guys. They've been doing a good job. But in comparison, there's no comparison, right? So why are we not giving ourselves? Because remember, it would have been a lot better if Saka was fit and Jesus was fit, but they're not. Exactly. Now even Martinelli's out. So How can you not? It's purely a financial decision, and
yeah, I mean, you can only draw one conclusion.
Yeah,
Not just this
it's
window, but
finances.
before that. Yeah, they're all business
It's
decisions.
finances. Laurie, we all know that clubs have to be sensible. Clubs have to balance the books. We get that, but it's also about winning things.
That's right.
And I just don't think giving themselves the best chance to win something, because you can't be so light up front and expect to beat a Real Madrid. Beat a even Juventus coming up is going to be a tough game. And Randall Colomawani, by the way, who's that we would have got, just scored another 2 goals yesterday for Juventus. I think that's 5 now in 3 games.
Yep.
It's criminal. This one says 60 million is a steal for Ollie Watkins. 29 ain't what it was 10 years ago. Players can have a prime through their early 30s. Not signing a forward is crazy. I agree with that. I agree with that.
And I think that this whole thing about when a player reaches to 30, their legs start to go, I think that is just a euphemism for the club feeling that he has no resale value after the age of 30. So again, it's a business decision. And just following on from that, a point I want to make is, I don't know about you, Robbie, but I'm sort of thinking about this, and I'm thinking the way we're moving at the moment in the transfers, it's kind of reminiscent of when Wenger was at the club and we were qualifying for Champions Leagues, and it would appear that seemed to be the limit of the owner's ambition. Remember that kind of period?
Yep.
We weren't doing anything in the league, but we were qualifying for the Champions League, and the club, to all intents and purposes, seemed to be happy with that. That seemed to be the extent of their ambition, not to win the league, not to win the Champions League, but if you're in the Champions League, the financial benefits that accrue from being in that, the owners, the money men, they're happy with it, and they're not really that fussed. And I'm worried that we could be seeing that being replicated now under Arteta. And I wonder how he feels, because let's be honest, he's under a lot of pressure as well. If he doesn't win anything at the end of the season, you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of the fans are going to be voicing their displeasure. I mean, some of them already are. Now, to be fair to Arteta, does he want to stick around and be the fall guy for the club not wanting to do business? Or is he going to look at it and say, look, the club are not matching my ambitions, let alone the fans. So that might affect him going forward. So the club will need to be really careful, man. Seriously.
Yep. It's an interesting. Afsar said, so what's the resale value of Fabio Vieira? I mean, and why didn't they bring Fabio Vieira back off loan? It's another baffling one for me. I just look at it and say, you can talk about finances. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about finances, right? Like, would they go for that William Saliba for mega money if it meant they got a big money in that they can invest? And I get it. Listen, we do need to think about financials. You do need to run your club in a proper way. We've seen a lot of clubs really suffer. I mean, Newcastle, who play today, they can barely buy a player because of PSR rules. And how close they're sailing to the wind on that. But to have Arsenal had the funds to get Ollie Watkins.
Yeah.
They chose not to do it because they thought that they're going to have to pay £20 million over the odds. For me, it would have given Ollie Watkins coming in would have given us options. It would have given the squad a lift. Would have given the fans a lift. And I think even if you get Ollie Watkins would have come in and we would have had a right go at it and we missed out, I think fans would have turned around and said, oh, we were behind Liverpool, but at least we had a go, man. At least we had a go.
Let me give you another
hypothetical. To do nothing. All I'm doing at the moment is I'm walking around. It's the same thing today. Every time I'm walking out on the road, I'm just meeting fans that are downhearted. We're second in the league. We've finished third in the Champions League group, and fans are downhearted because of this January transfer window. What happened?
I don't blame him. Robbie, say, hypothetically speaking, you were invited to a wedding, right? And a couple of days before the wedding, you get your suit out and you realize that it's got a big split in it. And you think, oh, I need to replace this. Yeah. So you you know that you need a suit, okay? You go to the retailer, you see the suit you want, or you see a suit that maybe you're not going to be your first choice, but the wedding is fast approaching. You need to get a suit. You find the one you want, you take it to the till, right? You're thinking, oh, this suit's going to cost me £100. And the guy says to you, that suit is £125. You go to the guy, what? 125? But you know you can afford it, but you think, oh, really and truly, this is a bit overpriced. What do you do? Do you leave the suit and not have the suit for the wedding? Or do you think, you know what? I'm being charged here, but I have to because I need this suit to go to the wedding. I'm sure that you're going to do the latter, yeah? You're going to pay
Arsenal, the guys with the money at Arsenal wouldn't go to the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably wouldn't go. Whereas me,
or they go with a hole in their trousers.
Yeah, because don't forget, you got the money, you know. It's just that you think that the suit is a bit pricey, but you need it. That's the kind of situation we were in with Ollie Watkins. It's a little bit overpriced. Yes, he is. However, we're desperate for a striker. We're desperate for striking options. The guy's a good player. He can score goals. He's proven. He's an England international. Just bung the 20 million, man. You know what I mean? Next time when we're selling players, try and recoup the money that way.
And you know the other thing? Do you know the other thing, Laurie? Right? Because we talk about this target and that player. Why didn't we get that player? Why didn't we get this? But he was available. Where many other players Arsenal would have liked to have got were not available. Exactly. Because of the difficulty of the transfer window in January, because of the way now, particularly, you know, you got the Champions League, you got the Europa League that continues into February before teams really drop out. There were a lot of players not available, but Ollie Watkins was available.
He was available. And not only that, he's Premier League battle tested and ready. Okay, I know he got injured. So maybe, who knows, maybe the injury might have affected Arsenal's thought process. I'm not sure. But he's battle tested.
But no. Look, the injury was after everything happened. Okay. So after the offer was, you know, Arsenal didn't bid for him and the 40 million was turned down and all that. The next week he got injured, right? Okay. And it's not a serious injury. It seems to be sort of a minor injury, should I say. They just didn't want to pay the money.
And look at Villa, by the way, who they did some good business. Duran left. He's disaffected. They kept Watkins, and crucially, they brought in Rashford. And now, to me, I think that could be a bit of a masterstroke from Villa bringing in Rashford, because let's be honest, he's going to be motivated out of his skin to do well. I was saying to somebody yesterday that loan deal from Rashford to Villa kind of conjures up images. Remember when Jesse Lingard went to West Ham? It could be one of them. You know what I mean? So, and even if it doesn't work out, it's a risk worth taking. And that's the other thing with our board. They're risk averse. As we've seen with the Ollie Watkins thing, they're risk averse. Even though we're desperate for a striker, they did not think, well, it is a risk. It isn't the smartest business move, but it's a great football move. So disappointing, man.
Very disappointing. Well, listen, we come to the end of the stream today. So
on a 1 to 10, what do you think happens to Saliba? On a 1 to 10, him going to Madrid?
I don't think Saliba will leave this summer. No.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right.
No, I really think he'll leave. I don't think Arsenal. You know, they're financially in a very strong position in the summer. So, but then listen, the way they're rolling. Because I said I was almost convinced they were definitely going to sign a player. I couldn't believe that they didn't do that. So you never know. But I really don't think this summer. But I think next year after that is very vulnerable. And I think they have to sign him. They've got to get him on a contract extension.
Yeah. What I'm worried about with Saliba, I know you're coming to, I'm going to make this point very quickly. We don't win anything and then we don't really boost the squad in the summer. Saliba might be looking at things that I've not won any trophies. The team is not being strengthened, and he might start to question the ambition of the club. And you add to that, he's been tapped up, then you got a problem.
Saka might start feeling like that as well, and many other players. So we've got to get our act together. But listen, thank you very much for joining us today. I really do apologise for my link today. you know, as I said, just before, literally just as we were going live, my extension that plugs directly into the Wi-Fi started playing up, so I had to go with just remote Wi-Fi, and I think that's caused problems. I'll have that sorted by tomorrow. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock, as we are every single night. So make sure you tune in here. Let's chat Arsenal every single night at 7 p.m. So thanks for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Laurie, thank you very much for coming on as well. And thank you to you guys and everybody who sent in comments, super chats. Loved every minute of it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. We are here with an absolute Arsenal legend, Manuel Eboué.
When I saw Arsene Wenger in the office, I was shaking because I said, "Wow, Pulis was playing on my side, Ruben Pulis, so it was fast." I said, "Okay, you." I said to Lauren, I said, "You, I will take your place." He said to me, "Are you sure?" I said, "Look, me, I was scared of Nes Lemon." This guy
really scary.
Yeah. This guy was very scared of him because he's a very serious guy, you know.
Was that the game that day when you had that bad performance?
Yes, already. Me personally, I knew that today is not my day. He made the
took it off at half, which is something he didn't do that a lot.
I look at him when I turn around. I saw the fans. Nobody, even my teammate, came to support me. It was only Adebayo.